What can we really learn from Kierkegaard?
You're the expert in 19th century thinking.
So look, I think we can learn something really important about what the nature of a non-rational attitude of faith would be, and I think that's not that kind of attitude or commitment to that kind of attitude is a very common thing in our culture, and it's really important. Well, so part of the reason I find Kierkegaard so fascinating and interesting to study is that I feel like it gives me insight into what's going on in the psychology of friends and family members of mine who do have this kind of stark religious commitment.
Well, right at present, as I understand, relativity theory and grand cosmological theory and quantum theory can't really be put together. So maybe there's a paradox involved in modern science.
And I want to stick up for Kierkegaard a little more deeply than either of you have, though, because I think that Kierkegaard describes something profound about the human situation. What is the basis of our being in the world? Who are we? What are we? You could say, well, the world, our culture, our history, our nation offers up narratives of what we are to be. Oh, maybe they can be wrong and we can be alienated from our nation. Well, then what then offers up a narrative of who you are and what you are? Well, your own reason. But then you say, why this self rather than that self? And that's a profound question. Why am I this rather than that? And Kierkegaard offers up another kind of answer, a powerful answer, and he argues, I think, persuasively for it, that grounding in the divine that gives you the only stable model of selfhood that is available. All the other ones are going to lead you, even if you're not conscious of it, to despair. Now, I like to get that emailer into our classroom and see how easily he can talk Kierkegaard out of that. I think he's just being too quick and shallow.
So you think if I believe that what we are in the world is a bizarre evolutionary accident that'll probably destroy the world, that might lead me to despair?
It might well indeed. Lanier, I'll give you one last comment, really briefly.
So look, I agree with you, Ken, that he's onto a very deep problem about how we constitute ourselves. But really, maybe we're just stuck with the situation where we have to give ourselves our own self-constitution, and there is no outside force, outside being that commands us to be that way.
I certainly agree about that. And on that note of agreement, I'm going to thank you for joining us. This has been a great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Our guest has been Lanier Anderson, professor of philosophy from Stanford University. So, John, you got any final thoughts about Kierkegaard?
Yeah, Hegel and Kierkegaard are driving across Denmark, and Hegel says, "Hey, Søren, we've got a flat tire." What does Kierkegaard reply?
I don't know.
"No problem, I've got to spare."
Now, that's pretty lame. But, this conversation continues, I hope not so lamely, on our blog, theblog.philosophytalk.org, and also on our Facebook page. We've got almost 3,000 members on our Facebook page, and we'd love for you to get us over that tipping thing.
And you can download podcasts of our program from our website as well. Now for the final word, we're going to take a leap of faith. That is that our fast-paced mind of Ian Scholes is going to have something more deep to say than anything you've heard so far in this program. Here he is, the 60-second philosopher.
Ian Scholes. Søren Kierkegaard died at 42 in 1855. It wasn't until the 20th century that his writing began to resonate. You can still see traces of Kierkegaard everywhere, or at least the ghost of his traces, in the tragic absurdities of Franz Kafka, the deadpan humor of Donald Barthelmy, and the half-blind strivers towards faith of Flannery O'Connor, in existentialism, Ingmar Bergman movies, even in the make-your-own-truth man ethos of the hippies. There is the ghost of Kierkegaard. Though he himself was not even remotely hippie-like, his beliefs are often put this way: I cannot believe, and yet I must believe. Much of what Kierkegaard wrote was written under pseudonyms, around 20 in all, which reads like a list of W.C. Fields screenwriters, who, of course, were all W.C. Fields. Kierkegaard presented himself on various pages as Johannes de Silentio, Constantine Constantius, and Hilarious Bookbinder, among others. Why did he do this? Well, Kierkegaard was cursed with both a fertile imagination and a dour Scandinavian Lutheran outlook. It's been surmised that he could only exercise his imagination by pretending to be somebody else, hence the pseudonyms. He was a weird guy, both playful and tortured. One of the few actual events in his cloistered life was when he proposed marriage. The woman accepted, and he was immediately anguished. When he saw her on the street, he avoided her gaze. He came to her house to read to her, listened to her play piano, and sat weeping in a chair instead. Finally, he broke it off. In his journal, he wrote, "Suppose I got married to her. What then? In the course of half a year, in less time than that, she would have torn herself apart. There's something ghostly about me. Fundamentally, I live in a spirit world." He also wrote things like, "My sorrow is my castle. To love God is to hate what is human. Not exactly Hallmark card material. He was well known in Copenhagen for his writing, but also for his personal appearance. Spindly legs, one shorter than the other, stooped posture, a crab-like gait. He was considered a figure of fun, a character, a crank. Children would make fun of him on the street. Even as a child, he was described as an old man, nicknamed the choir boy and the strange one. He described himself as a genius in a market town, which is at once true, self-pitying, and funny. Declining an invitation to a party, he once said, "Let no one invite me, for I do not dance." He was a fascinating figure, not fun to be with exactly, but you're still glad you know him. This strange duck was perhaps the most self-conscious human being who ever lived. Like a character in a Woody Allen movie, only magnified 1,000 times.
I'm what you would call a teleological existential atheist. I believe that there's an intelligence to the universe, with the exception of certain parts of New Jersey.
I gotta go.
Ian Shows, the only man who can solve a philosophical problem in 60 seconds.
Philosophy Talk is a presentation of Ben Manila Productions and the trustees of Leland Stanford Junior University, copyright 2010.
Our executive producer is David Demarest.
Our production coordinator is Devin Strolovich. Our directors of research are Daniel Elstein and Ben Hirsch. Lael Weiss is our webmaster.
Also thanks to Chris Hoff, Merle Kessler, Corey Goldman, and Mark Stone.
Support for Philosophy Talk comes from various groups at Stanford University, the Friends of Philosophy Talk, and the members of KALW San Francisco, where our program originates.
The views expressed or misexpressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of Stanford University or of our other funders.
The conversation continues on our website, philosophytalk.org. I'm John Perry.
And I'm Ken Taylor. Thank you for listening.
And thank you for thinking.